Hey guys, thanks for stopping by for another video here at All I See is W. In today's video, we have a lot to cover. I'd like to dive deep, talk about what is going on with the Bitcoin market. Where is the price headed with Bitcoin? We'll also deep dive and talk about strategy, MSTR. Why is the price dropping down so much? And are we going to see it continue to go down, or are we potentially going to see a V shape? We'll cover the latest updates using technical and fundamental analysis. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate you hitting the like and subscribing for more related content. But first off, a lot of what's going on right now is just all of the changes that's happening within the Department of Government Efficiency. We're seeing a lot of changes, where we're trying to strip away the waste within the sector of the federal government, and all of this is driving, fear, uncertainty around the economy. And this also applies in the global markets as well, where we have these tariffs that will be in place. And although tariffs are necessarily important, it's a good thing for the United States. There's, fear, uncertainty in regards to just the slowdown, the economic slowdown, where that could impact the CPI, inflation data, as well as just the employee numbers when it comes to the economy. But I think all of this in the long term, we'll see more stability come into place. I think a lot of what's happening right now with the Bitcoin market would be attributed to the stock market as well. Anytime when we see downward pressure with the stock market where there's sell-off, that's really going to drive down the price of Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin price is currently hovering at like the $80,000. Question is it going to go down below the 80,000 threshold? It seems very likely that Bitcoin will retest into the sub 80,000 and start hovering at around the 70,000 range. What we saw, back in November was that big bounce up with relative strength index being significantly bought up here, in the plus 80 RSI. But just with the last, 3.5 months of just consolidating in the mid 90s, bouncing up into the $100,000 range, now we see Bitcoin hovering below the Ichimoku cloud. And you can think of that cloud as like the cloud you don't want to see above, because that's really going to drive down the price. Think of it as like a magnet or a gravitational pull down that would just start pulling down this price. What you see here right now is our RSI is significantly oversold as well, down to like sub 20. I mean, it's at 18 right now. Bitcoin's extremely oversold. We may see a V shape. I'm thinking that we could very well see a V shape. You see here right now, 79,000. So we did in fact get back into the $70,000 range here, but I'm thinking that, as we scale out here in the next several weeks, we're going to see a bounce back V shape from my perspective, just based on technicals, given the fact that it's oversold here. And I'm sure there's going to be some whales coming in here buying up big here, driving up the price. What we're looking at here is the relationship between Bitcoin price and the M2 global supply. And it's important for us to see the correlations between the M2 global supply. That really gives us an indicator of all of the cash on hand with all of the different countries. You have like top 21 central banks. Think of that as like the amount of liquidity that each country has all around the globe here. So it's a really good indicator, because when you have an increase in the M2 liquidity, the global liquidity, then typically Bitcoin tends to go up as well. Of course, there is a lagging factor as well. So when you see, M2, which is represented in the black line, when M2 goes up, you'll start seeing Bitcoin going up, 2 to 3 months. It tends to lag behind, which, you do see here Bitcoin price, starting to go down here. But I think that with M2 just recently going back up here in blue here, Bitcoin is going to start having that reverse, 2, 3 months out as well. So it tends to lag behind. But anytime when, You see, M2 go up here. You also see, Bitcoin price also going up, but just recently with the M2 price, going up, we're going to see Bitcoin potentially go up as well. Taking a look here at the yearly candles here. So just based on historical data, you see here we have 2012 we had upside, 2013 we had a 5,000% gain, huge upside here. Of course, during that time Bitcoin wasn't as mature. But you see 2014 was a year where we had like minus 59% drop off, so lots of losses there. But the following year we had upside in 2015, upside in 2016, upside in 2017. And then that was coupled with, a bear market here, 73% drop off. So following that, we saw upside 2019, upside 2020 with 300% gain, upside in 2021 with 59%. What happened last year, we saw similar to what we saw in 2018 in the bear cycle, drop off of 64% here. 2023 upside here, small upside, as well as 2024, upside of doubling up here. So if we follow the consistent pattern, just with the last bull cycles, we tend to see three consecutive years of upside, just with the prior bull cycle since the prior drop, of 2022. Before that, we saw 3 years of consecutive upside. And in 2018, that bearish cycle, 3 years before that, we saw three consecutive years of upside. So if we follow historical data, 2025, we're going to see some, big numbers here. I think what we're seeing right now with volatility with Bitcoin in the sub $80,000 range, that's going to, establish that support for the next leg up into that 180, potentially 200,000 in the year 2025. Here we're looking at MSTR technicals here. I wanted to cover just the recent price action. So, where we currently are with MSTR at, $239. We saw more bleeding out today, which is a bit, like worrisome for us, bulls here. Just looking at the relative strength index. I mean, just recently on Tuesday, it was hugely oversold, down to 16. We started seeing people buy up. In fact, yesterday, MSTR went up by 5%. But what happened today? It spat out all of those returns, where, it's now back down. And I think, whether we are at the max pain level, we could very well see more downward pressure here, especially with Bitcoin price, just dropping down to the $70,000 range now. So support level here, the basement low of like $200. But I think that the fact that we're in this consolidation bullish pennant flag, we could see that reverse V-shaped pattern kick back in. Hopefully we can break through that Ichimoku cloud, get above that magnet pull down, and then start seeing a bullish reversal pattern. But I think, just based on, the technicals, the fact that we have MSTR being extremely oversold, there's huge upside here just through dollar cost averaging down. I do see that in the year 2025, we won't be around this price here of like $200. I mean, I think that we're definitely going to retest, get back up into that prior resistance of 500 and even beyond that as Bitcoin starts appreciating in the year 2025, just based on M2 supply, the historical data in the bull runs, and Bitcoin price, just dropping below the, $80,000 range here. Looking today, there was, Saylor meeting with the government, and what's going on here is that, Congressman Dan Moser, I mean, he hosted Michael Saylor today for an informative discussion about the value of Bitcoin in our US economy and the need for a digital asset market structure. Digital assets can unlock a frictionless power future and enable new sources of capital for the United States. I look forward to the work that this financial will do in crafting a common sense legislative framework to provide clear rules of the road, fulfilling President Trump's promised to make the US the crypto capital of the world. So very interesting here, seeing Saylor, do his thing. I mean, just pitching to, these big time players here on how strategy can add value to the US from a political and economic standpoint here. Here's a posting from someone on X here that you can't tell me they aren't discussing how MSTR will be a conduit for the US government's strategic Bitcoin reserve. Think about it pragmatically. The US can stack through Saylor and the nations wouldn't be able to front run them. Saylor and strategy can still operate autonomously, so it will be business as usual. They would get tax benefits and would be heavily incentivized to stack harder. 12 to 24 months time, pivot to a bank and make real yield by lending out Bitcoin. Government gets a piece of the pie to bring down their debt and everybody wins. So lovely posting from Saylor here that he had the opportunity to meet with the House Financial Services Committee to discuss digital assets and how we can make the US the global leader in Bitcoin and crypto. So definitely solid news with, the CEO making things happen here. Let's take a look at this posting here from Mason. Since early 2023, MSTR has endured five major drawdowns, each followed by new all-time highs. This week's sell-off is the steepest yet historically. Buying after corrections of this size has been a great bet. Volatility is vitality. I remain bullish. So here's a prime example, just looking at the historical data, what volatility is vitality means. Even though we see these, downward pressures of like 40% in 2023, 35%, which we saw in 2024, you know, 2023, 2024, we saw 39% drop off, 49% drop off in 2024. Now we're seeing a 55% drop off. This is true volatility here, but what tends to happen when we have these drop offs? Key thing is we're continuing to see upward trending here. So higher lows is what we're seeing from a long-term perspective. And I think MSTR is just going to continue to win, and this is expected here. We've seen it happen over the course of time. Looking at this post, I mean, what's interesting here is, Michael Saylor is just pitching away to the big time Mag 7 CEOs here. So, just really trying to pitch the fact that, it's important to consider Bitcoin, with Jeff, if he, buys up Bitcoin and uses the current fiat that Amazon has and buys Bitcoin to their treasury, that's really going to change how we look at just the transactions around Bitcoin. Even PayPal just released the ability to start transacting things through Bitcoin. So having that user interface embedded in PayPal, imagine if Amazon starts buying up Bitcoin and then, using the Amazon application, you could actually buy things, sell things through Bitcoin. That is just going to drive up the price of Bitcoin. Just with this posting here, Bitcoin is the best way to promote personal liberties and free markets. It offers an open protocol for prosperity that can be delivered to everyone via digital technology. So, with all of that information, I'll let Michael Saylor take it away with a quick video here talking about Bitcoin.
Well, first of all, it's the most successful technology in our lifetimes. It's grown faster and more powerfully than Google or Facebook or Apple or Amazon. And it's a network and an asset that's held by about 150 million people, and we're adding 2 million people a week. So other than the dollar and the euro, it's the most widely held monetary asset in the world. And there's every indication that nation states are embracing it. Jerome Powell says it's a digital asset. Christina Lagarde says it's a digital asset. The head of the SEC taught a class on it. I think that people understand it's not a threat to the dollar, by the way. What's going to happen is the US dollar is going to be the world reserve currency, and it's going to run on billions and billions of mobile devices. and the digital asset that underlies that currency is going to be Bitcoin.
Wow. I will tell you, my friends got me addicted. I'm a student. I'm learning. I'm still on the first chapter of sort of like cryptocurrency for dummies.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your thoughts are, what your predictions are. If you have any questions, leave it down in the chat along with what your perspective is with everything that's going on right now. Let me know what you thought about this video and where you're watching from. I really appreciate you all stopping by here and supporting this channel. Thanks again, guys. We'll do it again.